by Dr. Janet Becker, and they are going to help us open the holiday season with the holiday concert. So take it away.
Yeah.
Holiday Fantasy by Shaul Ben-Meir. Shaul Ben-Meir, 1940 to 2021, was an Israeli flutist who spent much of his life here in the United States as a member of the Detroit Symphony. He made numerous arrangements of orchestral pieces for the flute orchestra, and in addition to being the founder of the Michigan Flute Orchestra, was a sought-after guest conductor at flute conventions and events around the world. This holiday fantasy places two pieces in combination: the Jewish song Mi Yamala for Hanukkah and Carol of the Bells for Christmas, as the two holidays often intertwine. Walking in the Air, Howard Blake, arranged by Catherine Milacran. Walking in the Air is part of the musical score for the short film The Snowman from 1982. The animated film was based on the 1978 wordless picture book by Raymond Briggs. The book features exquisite pencil illustrations that tell the story of a young boy who builds a snowman that comes to life at the stroke of midnight and takes him on a magical adventure. Briggs says of the book, "I remember that winter because it had brought the heaviest snow I had ever seen. Snow had fallen steadily all night long, and in the morning I woke in a room filled with light and silence. The whole world seemed to be held in a dreamlike stillness. It was a magical day, and it was on this day I made the snowman. African Noel, arranged by Anne Cameron Pierce. African Noel is based on a Liberian folk song with the title, Don't Cry Little Girl. The words, however, have been changed to Sing Noel, Sing Noel, Sing We Noel. It is constructed in a call and response way with intertwining melodies and counter melodies. traditional French carol, Ding Dong Merrily on High. It is a delightful arrangement that gains complexity as it goes, but never loses sight of the original melody. The Night Before Christmas by Sonny Burnett. Clement Moore, the author of The Night Before Christmas, lived from 1779 to 1863. He was a scholar and professor of Oriental and Greek literature in the Episcopal General Theological Seminary in New York City. It has been set to music many times, but this version is especially for a large flute choir with additional percussion as well as the narrator. You will hear quotes from familiar carols and appreciate the light-hearted effects. Were hung by the chimney with gear in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. Ere he drove out of sight,
Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Peppermints, shepherd's crooks, and red spirals from the candy cane sweet Nancy Norse. This piece represents the three aspects of candy canes. The spicy peppermint flavor is represented by the piccolos. The minor key melody, reminiscent of Handel's pastoral movements in the Messiah, are the shepherd's crook shape, also played by the bass flute, which looks like a shepherd's crook. The red spirals are represented by the introduction of harmonics that swirl through the last third of the piece. The composer, Nancy Norse, has been involved in flute choir composition and performance for many years. A native of Canada, she has performed throughout the world as a soloist, ensemble member, and flute choir director. Umoja, the First Day of Kwanzaa by Valerie Coleman. Umoja is a Swahili word for unity and was originally composed for women's choir. Later, Ms. Coleman arranged it for the Imani Winds, the woodwind quartet she performed with for over a decade. Since that time, she has arranged it for many other combinations of instruments, but as a flutist herself, she has made this version very special. It features a simple melody, repeated throughout, accompanied by infectious rhythms and harmonies inspired by the African diaspora. World Snowman, Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, arranged by Lisa Ochoco. The Disney animated film Frozen has become one of the most popular movies for children, and its songs are hummed by everyone. This one reminds us to seize the chance to play and embrace childhood with all of its pleasures and joys, because time passes and we all grow up. What is more joyous than a day spent playing in the snow? Santa's Symphony by Ricky Lombardo. Santa's Symphony is a blend of Christmas carols and famous classics by composers Mozart, Brahms, Gounod, and Tchaikovsky. This arrangement is a highly entertaining and fun experience for the performers and the listeners. How many famous pieces and carols do you recognize? We Need a Little Christmas, Jerry Herman, arranged by Ricky Lombardo. We Need a Little Christmas is from the Broadway musical Maine, which premiered in 1966. Composer Jerry Herman wrote a number of musicals. Hello, Dolly and La Cage aux Folles both received Tony Awards for Best Musical. In Mame, the main character, Auntie Mame, is exuberant, full of life, and this song presents the best of her energetic, take charge personality.
Thank you.